Greetings, CinemaBlend fans. I'm events editor Eric Eisenberg.
And I'm staff writer Connor Schwerdtfeger.
And with the Avengers Infinity War now just a few weeks away from release, we are looking back at all of the Marvel movies that have come out to date and seeing how they lead up to the giant blockbuster. Let's dig in. We have seen some amazing years in the decade history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I don't think anyone would argue that 2014 isn't easily one of the greatest that has ever produced.
I stand by that.
Yeah. I think it's the best. Yeah. It is the year that, of course, as you can, as hinted behind me, was the year that brought us both Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And of course, we are going to do a full dive into the influence of these movies.
Yes.
So, starting in April of 2014, we have Joe and Anthony Russo's first step into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's just talk about that for a second.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
I mean, and just Joe and Anthony Russo. These guys brought a certain kind of like 70s conspiracy vibe and just absolutely crushed it to the point where they were not only hired for Captain America: Civil War, but, of course, Avengers Infinity War, which is the whole reason why we're doing this video.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. But that's just the filmmaking team. Let's actually talk about the Winter Soldier's influence on the Marvel Universe at whole.
I just want to say right off the bat, this is my favorite MCU movie, so I'm very excited to be talking about it. But right off the bat, the first thing that we need to talk about is this is really like the first concrete glimpse of Cap's disillusionment. This is the genesis of him being like, I don't know if I can trust the United States government anymore.
Absolutely. And it's very much contrast to what the whole shift that Tony Stark has been going through as Iron Man. And frankly, one of the best elements, I think, illustrating that is the presence of Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. This is the movie where we get to see her in full-on like S.H.I.E.L.D. agent mode, and it is badass. Let's talk about Bucky Barnes, because I think I mean, he just going from First Avenger into this movie, just the fact that he's alive is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and obviously knowing what we know now, post Black Panther, post Civil War, and all that stuff, we saw him fall from the train in First Avenger.
This is obviously where we are first introduced to completely Hydra brainwashed Bucky Barnes. It doesn't seem like there's any going back from this guy is just a killing machine and has been for decades and decades.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to the Black Panther post-credit sequence, he seems to be a very different guy.
Avengers Infinity War prequel comics have actually fleshed it out and how Shuri went into his brain and like selectively using that Wakandan technology.
Love that Wakandan technology.
Was able to just pull out like the trauma and reprogram him. So this movie feeds into Black Panther that way.
Absolutely, and of course feeds into Infinity War. Yep. And of course we can, as I mentioned, because I want to talk about Falcon, damn it, because Anthony Mackie is the best.
Oh, he's so good.
As far as character introductions, this is one of the best introductions to...
One of the most natural, for sure.
It's honestly, I love the interaction when Steve and Sam first meet
when they're running
together. When he shows up at Sam's house and says, "I need help," you're like, "Oh yeah, I totally get this. This relationship makes sense."
You get the sense that there's a bond between these characters that even though they didn't actually serve together, there's a kinship that they understand. And we don't know what's going to happen with Falcon. There's obviously talk about who could take over the Cap mantle, but Captain America: The Winter Soldier really has always made me think that Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson could become the new Cap.
Captain America: Winter Soldier, out of 10, leading into Avengers Infinity War. Where would you put it?
8. I'm gonna go with 8.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So now let's move on to the first August release. We had April, and now we are in August for the movie that nobody really saw coming. Nobody really had any expectation for, but boy, did it blow the doors off. I mean, holy shit. And of course, a huge part of that is the huge part that's leading into Infinity War, which is the introduction of these remarkably strange but amazing characters.
I remember I saw this movie with my parents, actually, and they didn't know until the trailers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out that Guardians was even a Marvel property.
Yeah, no, it's completely
so
separate.
Different and weird and fun, and that's what this that's what this brought into the equation.
This is the first Brolin Thanos. Yes. So of course we learn that he is, and of course his relationship with both Gamora and Nebula are incredibly important to the development of like who he is within this universe. He is this torturous warlord who takes children under his wing to do like his awful bidding around the universe. He's just a guy to be seriously terrified of. But the reason why he's to be terrified of is because he is searching for Infinity Stones.
The Power Stones
specifically, which of course is a major thing that Guardians of the Galaxy brings to the table. So all of these Infinity Stones are really, really powerful all by themselves.
Yeah.
So just imagine how they will react when they're all together in a gauntlet. We should also specifically talk about the Collector, because we mentioned him in the Thor: The Dark World episode, because his appearance in that. So when he's introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy, the ether is never mentioned. It's in his museum, presumably somewhere. He obviously doesn't end up with the stone by the end of it, but the fact that the whole place explodes because of the Power Stone, I'm curious if the ether is still going to actually be in the Collector's Museum when we get to Avengers Infinity
We never
War.
get a sense of what happened after that, how things could have been scattered, but that is the last that we see of the ether.
I give this movie an 8 or a 9, simply because the introduction, the fact that you actually have Thanos speaking. You have his kind of relationship with the larger cosmos. You have his relationship with Gamora and Nebula. You have, and of course, the Infinity Stone. The fact that this is actually the first movie that features Thanos going after an Infinity Stone. That's fairly significant.